Welcome everybody from Sparx Systems YouTube channel. It's great to have you join us today. Once again, we're going to continue to look at our urban parking system that's been developed and implemented in Enterprise Architect. And from time to time when I'm typing notes, I occasionally make a typo and a few spelling mistakes. I'm often switching between American English and Australian English, and it's often very common to make some mistakes because words like colour and behaviour are spelt differently between the two languages. So I'm really keen to hear how you can tackle spelling in Enterprise Architect. So welcome, Stephen. Great to have you here today. And I'm hoping you can tell us a little bit about how Enterprise Architect manages spelling.
Thank you for the introduction, Scott. Always glad to be here. So let's get started with this. What we're going to do is go to the design ribbon, and on the panel there, dictionary, we can see that we've got two options, glossary and spelling. We have another video on the use of glossaries, and I encourage people to look at that. But we're going to look at spelling today, and we'll just drop down this list here of items, and we've got spell check project, spell check current package, and spelling options. So let's go and have a look how this works. In our model, we have various elements that have got names and notes applied to them. Let's have a look at this glossary here and this strategy glossary category. We'll click on data-driven policy making, and we'll look over here and we see that there's some notes there. I'm actually quite fastidious about spelling, Scott, so I tend not to make too many mistakes, but of course I'm human and can. But let's make some mistakes in here, and we'll put in that someone spelt the word system with a C. Immediately, Enterprise Architect goes through its dictionary and says, hey, that's not a word that I recognize, and underlines it. Similar would happen in your favorite word processing tool. Let's make a couple of other corrections there. We'll put in this one, cities, and we'll say that that's sites. Let's make an outlandish one and say that we've put an X into the middle of policies. So we'll click off that and just make sure that's saved. You can see the spelling errors are there. So now what we need to do is select a package, because that was the option we're going to use. So glossary category strategy, let's go back up to our spelling, and we want to say spell check the current package. So we click on that, dialog box pops up, and we could start the work. You notice in the top it says here spell check strategy, and it's British English, and we'll come back to that, but that's a key to what's going to go on here. So we've pressed start. It says that this word's not in the dictionary, and it gives us a list of possibilities. So we've got system both in its plural and its singular form. We'll choose that, hit the change key, everyone change button. Most people are familiar with this kind of thing. So move on there. Cities, it's given a number of options, and it's cities that I want spelt with a C. I'll change that. And policies, it's found, and it says, no, this is the way you spell policies. I'll change that. Now, notice it comes up now and says that the word centres is not spelt correctly, and the word centres is spelt differently between different regions in the world that speak English. So, you know, Canada, America, Britain. So let's just say that we want to ignore that. So I can ignore that change there, and we'll come back and see what we can do about this. Spell check complete. The last item is listed there. We'll close that window, go back to our element, and see that now it's been
all fixed.
All fixed, and the spelling is being corrected. So let's have a look and see what other options we've got. We do have this spelling option here to spell check the project. So I'm going to click on that and have a look. Selected that, spell check the project, and that pops up. And now it's got a list of elements to check. So that was disabled on the previous one. Let's just go back and have a quick look at that. When we spell checked a package, notice that these things were not available as options to set, but they are on the spell check project. So useful things, because we can skip, you know, reference data, we can skip diagram information, connectors that we may not want to have into our spelling. Let's just you know, uncheck a couple of these, and let's start that. Off it goes. And it immediately finds this word colour. And again, this is a word that's spelt differently between different regions of the world that speak English. Let's ignore that for the moment. And it's come up with all these kind of things as well. Let's ignore those. So a couple of version pieces of information gone through. Optimization, it doesn't like that. It's not in the dictionary. Again, this concept that you mentioned at the beginning of the spelling with an S or a Z. So that's there. So you can see all sorts of things are going on. This word here is not in the dictionary, probably not going to be in too many of the dictionaries, but we can add it to the dictionary if we want, Scott. And so that's that term with, to do with internet security is there, and I could add that to the dictionary if I wanted to.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's now just cancel this. We could go through this, all day, and we'd go through the spelling. But in a large project, it might take a little bit of time to go through that. Let's ignore that now, and let's go back and have a look at some other things. There was another item on the drop down, which was spelling options. When I bring that up, it displays a dialog box, which gives me a whole lot of different options. And the interesting thing here down here is the main dictionary language. So we've got the main English languages there: American English, British English, and Canadian English. So Enterprise Architect comes loaded with those 3 languages, but there are a whole range of other languages that you can download from the registered user page. I'm going to drag on a help page now just to explain this in a little bit more detail, list the languages. So user languages other than English. We've got Brazilian there, all the way through Finnish to Swedish and Norwegian. And you can download those from the registered users page and simply install them in the Enterprise Architect installation directory. So those languages are available. Once you do that, they'll come up in that list, and you can choose your own natural language there. So I'm not going to go through all these in detail, Scott, but a couple of interesting ones there. This one here that says ignore words.
Company names with a capital letter, you could ignore those using the first option.
Exactly. Yeah. So this one here, ignore words with mixed case. That's quite often when people are their product names that have mixed case, or developers naming attributes and things like that. So that would be a good one to leave out, and variable names. Yeah. So have a look at those at your own leisure and see the ones that work for your organization. Look at if you need another dictionary, then download that dictionary. And the other thing you see is that the suggestions, we can do them slow but accurate, fast but less accurate. I generally go for the slow but accurate. But if you were doing a very, very large model and you were spell checking it, then it might take some time. What I encourage you to do, though, is when you're developing the model, is to do the spell checking as you're developing parts of the model, rather than leaving it to a time that you want to publish or disseminate your model. And it might have, some of our models do, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of terms in it. And yes, that might take a little bit of time, but if you were doing it as you were going along, the spell checker would run quickly and skip over all of the correctly spelt words and just find the new words that weren't spelt correctly. So one last thing, Scott, which is an interesting thing that comes up, is the options or preferences. The start ribbon, the appearance panel, the preferences item there, and I click on that, brings up a dialog box, and under objects, there's an option down here on the right-hand side saying disable spelling. Now, if I click that option, the spelling aspects of the spelling system will be disabled. For example, the red underlining when you spelt a word incorrectly won't pop up as you're working. So you can disable that. You'll probably need to restart Enterprise Architect to have that having effect. But you don't want to be pressing that very often. You'd set it, once at the beginning of your project probably, and not set it again. So just be careful. If that happens to have inadvertently been turned off, you might be wondering why your spelling.
If you're working on a project and things aren't getting underlined in the notes field, that might be a nice, quick, easy fix for you.
Exactly, Scott. So thank you for the introduction to this, Scott, and I'm hoping that people will go and apply the spelling to lots of their own projects.
Thanks, Stephen. It's been great to see it, and I know, given that I'm located down the south in Australia, I'm constantly switching languages in many tools that I'm using between American and British English. So it's useful to know that you can do it in Enterprise Architect. To our audience, as always, if you've enjoyed this video, we encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe to the Sparx Systems YouTube channel. We always value your feedback. If you have any questions about the dictionaries or spelling in Enterprise Architect, you can reach out to Stephen via the website and LinkedIn credentials that are listed in the description of the video below. So once again, thanks, Stephen. Great to have you on board, showing us something new in Enterprise Architect nearly every day. Thanks so much.
Always a pleasure, Scott.